Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is the Golf Guru bringing you the 2021 World Golf Championships with a sponsor, Workday, and it is going to be held at the Concession in Brayton, Florida, because they cannot go to Mexico, of course, due to the pandemic and restrictions. But for some odd reason, the we'll call it the B squad can somehow travel to Puerto Rico, but that's neither here nor there. So, anyways, this is a preview show. I am going to break down the concession course to the best of our abilities. We are missing a lot of stroke gain information, so it's going to be a bit like when we looked at the CJ Cup or even the Zozo here in 2020 when they played at Shadow Creek or Sherwood. You know, we've got kind of the same field. It's an elite field, about 80 players. You're getting some guys that are the top two from Asia. You're getting the top two from Europe. We're actually getting quite a few European guys, so there's going to have to be some analysis we're going to do on there. But we'll get into all that. Let's first go into a quick recap of the Genesis Invitational. It was a pretty amazing finish, and lots of good things happened. So let's jump into that. Okay, so the Genesis. This is the best way, I think, to break down. Some guys just kind of talk it over. I like to dive into the details, as on this show, we are all about diving into the data, the analysis, and trying to figure out how we're going to win the next one. And so it was a good tournament. Really looked good in round one, which, that's always very early. It ended up being pretty good. A lot of my picks were on, few off, but we missed a lot of the explosions, a lot of the bombs that could have went off. So that's the good news. So let's get into this real quick. So let's talk about Tony. Again, somehow this came up. Of course, Max Homa won in a playoff. And it was kind of amazing. It looked like the golf gods were against Max, missing that 3-footer. Then have to go to a playoff. And then, of course, on I believe it was the first hole where he, hit his drive. It got stuck right against the tree trunk. And what an amazing shot he hit to get it. And then, of course, Finau missed a putt. And ultimately, that's what came to hurt Finau at the end was the putter again. So, it was one of those things where I was rooting for Max, but I was also rooting for Tony. And the good news was that, I had them both actually in the best lineup that I had in the very large GPP tournament. I think I ended up 450th out of like 90,000 people. And that paid a big whopping $75. So again, as I've always said, I kind of tend to not as put as much money or picks into the large tournament. It's a lottery card, really, or a lottery ticket, I should say. I put about 10 lineups in, and I think almost 7 of them, at least cash. So that was good. But again, where I make my money is on Showdown. We'll talk a little bit about that regarding, I believe it was round 3 with the whole wind conditions. But neither here nor there. Let's look at this a little more. All right, so what did Tony do well? So, funny enough, this is another tournament that actually the winner, Max Homa, did not lead in one stroke gain category. And this seems to be like a trend. He did everything very well, but actually led in none. So if we quickly look at from off the tee, you had Victor Hovland, who led the field, gaining strokes off the tee. And I believe, on approach, you had Cameron Tringali, which was one of my picks, who also led on approach. And around the green, which, around the green, I think is a stat that I don't think you actually want to lead the field in. I've said this multiple times. I'll restate it again, that if you are leading around a green, that means you are struggling to hit greens. And you can see this. So K.H. Lee ended up 67th or 66th place, I guess. He did make the weekend, but really struggled on the weekend. And you can see the day the wind blew, shooting 8 strokes over. You had Sung Kang, who took it all down with a 12 over, led the field in bogeys. But anyways, it is an area that I will never say you actually want to lead the field. And then you had Jason Kokrak gaining over 8 strokes with the putter. And then tee to green, Finau led, and then total shot gain or stroke gain analysis was led by Tony Finau at 13.14, which is funny, he tied Max Homa. So that's an interesting little tidbit there, that even though Max did not lead in any of these categories, that Tony and him actually tied at 13.41 strokes gained against the field. Sam Burns, I think it was an interesting story, right? He almost went wire to wire, which is impressive. Actually had 12 under after round 2, which, actually became, the winning score was 13 under, but to get you into a playoff, if he could have just shot even par the next 2 days, he would have been right there. I was waiting for, Sam to follow the pack. Note to self: if you were playing showdown or if you were betting for first round, second round leader, Sam Burns is a great play. I'm not saying Sam is not going to win a tournament. Something there he's still got to learn is on the weekends. I think the pressure, things just get a little too big. And really, he hit that ball, out of bounds. I don't even know what hole it was now, like 14, 13, something like that on the last day. And it was just a miracle that somehow it hit something and came back into bounds. Or it could have been even worse. It wouldn't have been a conversation that he was in the mix, probably coming down to the last few holes. But what was also interesting was if you look at the splits for Burns, he is amazing. They call him Bermuda Burns on the Bermuda putting surface, but POA is not a good, or didn't come up as a real, surface that he does well on. So for him to gain, almost 6.5 strokes with the putter, and you can see that's what he did. It was all, not so much off the tee. It was all an approach, and it was all putting, which if you got those two combos working, you're typically going to win or be in the hunt. So anyways, I highlighted Cam Smith. I just thought it was interesting. I was always a big Cam Smith proponent, but again, what I did learn is that guys from Australia, because of the Kukua fairways and roughs and all that, to play guys that are from Australia, that is duly noted. And now, if you look at Matt Jones, if you look at Cam Smith, if you look at Adam Scott, who's won this tournament multiple times in the past, for whatever reason, because they are very comfortable with that surface or hitting, out of that rough or off, the fairways, they tend to do well here. So just note to self, like I said, definitely be keeping an eye. I actually made a bet on Cameron Smith to win the Masters. Just something about and tough courses, tough fields. Cameron Smith shines, and he's got a wicked short game. So the only probably fade that I had that almost came back to haunt me was John Rahm. So I was fading. I didn't pick them as my fades, but ultimately I faded Rory, JT, and Shoffley and Rahm. And Rahm was the only one, and that was all due to a round 4 where he came out, on his first 9 and shot like 4 or 5 under, but didn't do a whole lot after that. But I mean, that was enough to, get back into a T5, considering, he made the cut, but, without a problem. But it just, again, Rahm his putter just seems to be off and just getting frustrated with it. And so that was part of the reason why I faded him. Victor Hovland was one of I believe I had him for a top 10 pick, because I switched it to a top 5, top 10, and top 20. I believe he fell into that range. And again, I was looking for guys that were going to be, get around the course and, hit greens, fairways. The putter, he actually gained a stroke, which was pretty good for Victor, and had a great Sunday. Matthew Fitzpatrick, right? I talked a lot about him in my show, and it came to fruition. Again, I was looking for guys that were just, elite putters on POA. And, I think he was the dark horse, right? I mean, if you look 7,600, he really helped a lot of my lineups, and hopefully you guys played him too. One time I think he was in second place and then kind of fell back a little bit. DJ was a bit of a shock. I think that was his first final Sunday round where he shot over and forever. And I think everybody's expecting. I think I mentioned this on the Top Play show that I was a little worried because I know that, he won Saudi over in Europe, but I think he shot 13 under, and he said he had a terrible day putting on. I didn't watch the event, but that made me a little nervous, and you could kind of see it come to life with DJ. So we're going to have to keep an eye on him. Some things to think about at this upcoming event at the WGC. I highlighted Francesco just again. What a great outing for him. A T8, we just got to watch it. He was doing well with the putter. I think I might have put a bet on him for the Masters too. Just guys that I'm thinking that could do well there. Of course, Cameron, I think, ended up second last year. I think the only guy to ever shoot all 4 rounds in a 60. Of course, Augusta was playing a lot easier than usual due to the wetness and whatnot. But, some of the Wyndham Clark was in, I believe, he was one of my sleepers. Also looked really good. Did everything well. Off the tee, just lost a little bit, but gained almost 4 strokes putting. Again, that's what we were looking for. Same thing with Gooch. He was a sleeper pick. Got a T12. Actually, all my sleepers made it through to the weekend, which was exciting. And Gooch was positive everywhere. Patrick Cantlay, same thing. I actually, really thought he would be the one I thought that would come out on top of all this. Just how steady his game is, how good of a putter he is on POA. But you can see on the weekend, on the hard day with the wind, he shot even. But Sunday where he should have, could easily shot 3 to 5 under, just didn't do it. And you can see the putter let him down ultimately. Jordan Spieth, I was fading him, and he was up there in the pack early on, and then kind of did what Jordan typically does during the weekend. And really, I don't want to bash on him because it was, playing during that windy time on Saturday where he shot, I believe, like 4 or 5 over. That's what kind of crushed him. But you know what? Overall, if you take Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, the guy played good golf, and I thought he would struggle mightily at this course just because of how you have to be accurate with the tee ball. And even though he has been more accurate with the tee-ball, at any moment, if that peeks his head back, you start to lose confidence. So good for Jordan. And again, he's kind of proven himself to me. It was going to take a bit. But right now, I'm being a little more sold that Jordan, could be pretty live for upcoming events. Scotty Scheffler, Scotty had I think it was the first day, came out firing and had a good Sunday. Losing a little bit off tee, a little bit with the putter, but, still a pretty good outing. Tringali for the price, was well worth it, almost 10x his value. And, look at this. He led the field in approach, gaining 7.5 strokes. So someone to keep an eye on. Adam Hadwin, that was a pure, just a really good short game POA putter. He was a sleeper pick and ended up, again, almost 10x in his value, but, for 7,300. Lonto Griffin, again, coming through, had a really good Sunday. Again, for Showdown, watch Lonto. He's been doing really well on Fridays and Sundays. And again, you had the wind on Saturday, but yeah, let's see. We'll keep moving through. I think I picked Kokrak just because of the putter. It was amazing. He lost strokes around the green on approach, barely gained off the tee, but man, gained 8 strokes on the field putting. And that's, I guess what I heard was he lengthened his putter. And so Jason Kokrak was not a good putter in the past, and he lengthened his putter. And I think this was back in before he won the at Shadow Creek, the CJ Cup, and it's just been going lights out. So you give Jason Kokrak where he can putt, he's got all the other skills. I mean, it's kind of like a Corey Connors. You give Corey Connors the ability to putt, he can do some things. So just something to keep an eye on. We had Kevin Na, which, man, I just don't like Kevin Na. I just do not like picking him. But again, I was going with everything it was telling me. Came out, made the cut. But funny enough, he actually lost where he needs to gain. He lost almost 2 strokes of field putting. Koepka was a fade, and it kind of looked like in the beginning it might bite me. It was 4 under after 2 days. But again, the Saturday bit him, shooting six strokes over. Did get to see a lot of Koepka, so I don't have a lot to weigh on that. But I'm not remiss for 9,700. 68 points. Not something I was worried about. Adam Scott was the one that really kind of stung me. And the reason, he still shot 2 under on the first day. And he couldn't hit a fairway or a green. Like the guy was just putting lights out the first day. And it just came to haunt him. But, amazing enough, on Sunday, he came out, shot 5 under. And I didn't get to watch a lot of that either. But you can see he was losing 3.5 strokes on approach. Barely gained off the tee, but, was making up with a putter. I think if he could have had a better Friday, he could have been in the mix, but he was just not Adam Scott off the tee and approach. Morikawa, here's one for you. This is the stuff that why golf predicting in this field is just predicting what these guys are going to do. They don't know what they're going to do. They can be out the first day on the practice range or, out actually playing their practice rounds and losing balls left and right and thinking they're going to be terrible. I've heard this from JT where he, had no expectations and goes out and shoots like a 61. There was one recent with Benny On that had a story on his practice rounds. He actually lost all the balls he had out there and borrowed some balls and then went out like in the first game, it was like 6 under. So again, why I'm bringing this up with Morikawa is that he changed his whole putting grip during his little hiatus there. And I would definitely go back because he lost 7.5 strokes putting. Now, Morikawa was never an elite putter, but he's never, I don't think, lost almost 8 strokes to the field. So that whole claw thing experiment, please trash it, go back. I honestly believe if he would have just went there with his normal putting stroke, he would have done better. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. But his game, like Hovland, suited that course where, he manages, off the tee, he's awesome on approach. And, he's not the best putter, but again, he would have made it through it. Joaquin Niemann for a bit, I was fading him and I knew that was a tough fade for me. But I came down to the putting with him and on Poa and just what I've seen. And, he was 7 under after 2 days and then shot 7 over. Again, weather had some effect on that. But even on Sunday, shot 1 over and, again, the weather. And you can see approach he lost, but the putters where he lost too. But when I first thought of this course and started to see what the skill set was requiring, I actually thought of Joaquin Neiman, even like Abraham Answer, of course, Carlos Ortiz we'll talk about. But yeah, Cameron Davis was another pick, did very well off the tee, but everything else was kind of, had a decent Friday, Sunday. I just brought Corey Connors up because, again, he lost 3 strokes. I didn't have him as a pick, but, again, just from a putting perspective, Luke List was a sleeper, made the weekend for us. Nothing fantastic by any stretch, but made the weekend for you. Maverick McNeely, same thing, was a sleeper, made the weekend, didn't do a whole lot. I just highlighted Tyler McCumber. I'm sure if you watched the golf, you heard the crazy story. Tyler McCumber it kind of blew my mind because that guy, I don't ever see him do anything. He's never been on my radar. And then to come out and be 7 under after 2 days, and then to find out that he smashed his finger, had surgery, was going to withdraw, and then taped it up and just tried to go hit a few balls. It felt okay. He's like, I can manage it. And then, funny enough, goes out and plays some of the best golf we've seen on a very tough course. It was just, again, back to trying to predict this stuff, why it's so difficult. I would have never picked Tyler McCumber to begin with. Nothing would have told me to. But then also, if you would have heard that the day before he smashed his finger, his nail got ripped off, and that kind of pain I couldn't even fathom. And then to go out and do what he did, it's an amazing story. Carlos Ortiz, that was kind of shocking. He tried to make a comeback. Both these guys, DeChambeau and Ortiz, but they both just struggled mightily with the putter. Of course, DeChambeau we're going to talk about for this upcoming event because there's, at least we have some background information on him at this course at the concession. Hideki, I just highlighted him. Again, he's losing everywhere, and amazing enough, he gained putting. So figure that one out. Usually where he's elite is off the tee and approach, loses typically, but he's just a mess right now. So he was a fade already for me. Again, I didn't pick him as a fade. I don't like to pick easy fades like Matthew Wolff again or Gary Woodland. I like to pick the guys that are a little harder to fade. But yeah, Nate Lashley, we jumped off that train. He was a fade. It ultimately worked out. He made the cut, but, just didn't do anything great. He was losing a little bit everywhere. I just kind of felt like that ship probably was kind of coming into port to get off it. And so Bubba was kind of a shocker. I didn't play him, but when you have that kind of pedigree, but Bubba's game, he took that break after the Masters, and we haven't really, what we've seen since has been very vanilla, very, blah. And so, we just have to keep an eye on Bubba, but he's not doing what he did. And of course, lost 3 strokes putting, which, is what he's done very well here in the past. And then you got the Rory JT thing. And we'll talk about Rory first. So Rory, which is crazy, is that he lost almost everywhere and lost 4 strokes putting, but barely gained off the tee. And that's very rare for Rory. So again, I don't know if it's a fan thing. Maybe when he goes to the Players, this will rejuvenate him. But Rory right now is just in a funk, and that's all I can say. I mean, I don't think it's a technical thing. I think it's a mental thing. JT, I think the same thing. I think this was a mental fiasco. I think he should have took some time after his grandfather passing. So you're right. He got the double whammy. He had the oopsie comment after making a bad putt, and was just hard on himself, and it slipped out. And of course, mics are catching everything. I'm not giving him a pass on it. I'm just saying I think it's still kind of bothering him. And then of course you have with his grandfather passing, I think he went and played that tournament because of his relationship with Tiger, but he should have just took the week off because I've never seen him just play where you could just kind of tell I don't want to say he didn't care, but his mind was not in the game. And this game is so mental that if you're not on 100% mentally, you're going to struggle. We already talked about Casey. Okay, that's quite a bit of information, but I wanted to kind of just summarize. We talked about kind of the highlights of the tournament and the crazy stuff, but we also got to find out some more analysis. So let's go jump into the course breakdown now. Okay, so the guys are leaving the West Coast. We're heading to Southeast Florida, and there's going to be 4 events at this swing. Of course, they're heading to Bradenton, which is just right below Tampa. It is on the west side of Florida. We are, of course, at a WGC event. So when you talk about the player field, typically it's something like 77 to 80. I mean, like everybody's here except I think Paul Casey, and I'm forgetting somebody else that decided not to play. But this is a no-cut event. These aren't my favorite. I like it. I mean, we're gonna have some guys that we don't know a lot about. We're gonna have some European guys. We're gonna have some Asian guys. The European guys, I'm gonna probably do a little more studying on because you got like Rob McIntyre or Wiesberger. McIntyre's been doing really well there, so I'm going to dive into those guys to see. Those are, I think the European guys are going to be the guys that are, the ones that we don't know as well, that you don't see all the time, are they are going to be the game changers for this upcoming event. Of course, it's a par 72, playing about over 747, 474, that 7,474 yards. Okay, I don't know why that was that tough. Of course, you're going to hear this a million times. Bryson DeChambeau won the 2015 NCAA individual men's. He beat out CT Pan by a shot, and he shot 8 under for 4 days. The fairways and roughs are Bermuda grass. The greens are Bermuda. They are, I'm going to put some links, so please go to the comments below so you can kind of see some flybys of the course. You can see a little bit of DeChambeau's, win there. I've been looking at all kinds of different information and trying to learn everything I can about this course. Again, we have no stroke gain analysis. We have no past history here. No PGA events have been held here. There's been talk of a U.S. Open in the future. And if I had to just take a flyer on what I think the scores are going to be, I'm thinking somewhere mid-teens. The reason why I say that is this is a resort course, and if you look at where the Riviera, where they just came from, the one thing or the two things that will cause havoc for professional golfers, it's not the distance. It is how firm the greens are and even the fairways. So if you're hitting fairways, but they're rolling into the rough every time, and if you can't stab and suck back a ball or go after pins, now you're leaving yourself 20 to 30 to 40 footers on crazy slopey fast greens. That's what, you can make a par 70 and make it 7,000 yards, but you make those kind of crazy firm greens, they're going to struggle, and then add some wind. Now the difference is they took for 2 months to get that course at Riviera, because it is a country club. They shut the course down for 2 months to get it almost, I want to say U.S. Open conditions, but to get it very difficult. This course is not doing that. And I've watched some stuff, and I'm seeing guys that, you're throwing the shot at the pin, and it's, sticking, and it's sucking back. And so my thoughts and what I'm going with my narrative is that, yes, it's going to be difficult. I don't think it's going to be just a walk in the park, but I also don't think it's going to be like what we just saw at Riviera. So that's where I'm kind of getting my mindset. Now, of course, going off DeChambeau, I mean, that was, when he's 18 years old, and CT Pan was, so I can't really base a whole lot on college players to where DeChambeau's game is now. I don't think they're going to go out and boat race this course by any stretch of the imagination. There's if we talk about the course defense, there's a ton of water hazards, a ton of sand. Water lines the fairway, I know, on 10 and 18. So what you're probably going to see is some guys that if they keep it in play, they can go low. But you're going to see guys have some blow up holes here too, because you can easily, then it will. I actually do have a scorecard that I found. We'll go through that. But yeah, so that just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking. Again, no cut, so we don't have to worry about that. And it's just figure out the players that can take advantage of this course and the ones that might not. Yeah. And so let's go take a look at that scorecard. All right. So this is an official scorecard for this event coming up. I circled a few holes here that, we're just going to talk about real quickly. I think I mentioned that 10 and 18, I believe, if I'm correct, do follow the water. You've got this number 8. I think it's one of their signature holes where, again, it's like a risk reward. You got 12, 2, both par 4s that, you can definitely take advantage of, but you can also go from a 3 to a 6 because there is the water, the marshes, all that kind of fun stuff. But you also got some crazy par 4s. You got a 476 here, a 478. You got a 600-yard par 5. You got 18, at 486. So again, almost 7,500 yards. There's going to be, some areas that they're going to have to learn where they can strike an odd. And, almost again, another 600-yard par 5. Of course, we have 4 par 5s as a par 72. It's pretty much traditional. I think they have 1, 2, 3, Yep, 4 par threes and 10 par fours. So that's pretty standard on that stuff. But anyways, that just gives you an idea from a showdown perspective. We don't know, looking at this, I don't really see a distinct advantage either side, and there usually is not. There's not usually one side. I mean, it can happen, but that you look at. But anyways, it just gives you an understanding of a little bit of the course. And again, if you want to go, I recommend you go and just it's like a 5-minute video, just do a flyover. And I think even on PGAtour.com you can walk hole by hole, and I'm not going to do that to you guys. So what am I seeing to win here? I'm almost a little bit again working back, but not as much. But I think the first thing that I'm going to focus on is Bermuda putting specialists. They are going to have some long putts because these are very large complexes. They're also very slopey. So they need to learn, hopefully in their practice rounds where they need to be, which side of the pin. So they're going to have to learn that. And I think there's ability for some 3-putts because of the length and the slope. And, right now we don't know of anybody that, I don't know of anyone that belongs to this club. Of course, there's a ton of guys that live over in Jupiter, Florida. I was going to go into that. I'm saying it's worth it. Note to self, it's Koepka. It's all the whole crew between JT and Spieth and Fowler. I mean, Rory. There's a ton of guys that live in Jupiter, but this is on the other side. And so right now we don't have. The best thing I'm going to do is listen to the Tuesday interviews after their practice rounds. And some things might come out there, like, I always go back to the Jason Kokrak when you find out, oh, Jason's actually played Shadow Creek, hundreds of times because he's taken people out there for MGM, and hence he wins because he knows the greens better than anyone. So right now we don't know who that guy is. All we know is DeChambeau's played this course a few times. I'm sure other guys have played this course, but we don't know. I looked from a member perspective. Paul Azinger, joined there. Of course, you can watch a little video. He talks about this place. But I haven't found any other members there or anyone that has a history. Of course, this course was open in 2006, so it's relatively new. Okay, I digress. Kind of got off target there. But long story short, we got to avoid 3 putts. I believe approach and green and reg is going to be next. I also believe that you're going to need distance here, which we know was kind of the last couple courses wasn't really a focus. But I think driving distance with turning on fairways and reg. So what that means is combining the two. You're getting distance, but you're hitting the fairways. That's going to be crucial here. Of course, ton of sand. There's going to be a lot of long irons coming in, so like proximities between like 175 to 200. We got to look for those guys. They're going to need to score on the par fives. It's very typical for every course. And then you got 3 long par threes over 200 yards. So I'm going to put that into the model. And then birdie or better opportunities. I think right now that's the areas that I'm looking at. That's how I'm kind of matching the skill set. Again, we don't have any history to back that up. I can't reference guys that have won here in the past. But from all the analysis I've done to this point on the course, that's what I'm getting. And more analysis is going to come out. So as I put out shows Tuesday and Wednesday, I will update you guys on anything that I find out. But so keep an eye on that. So now from a comp course perspective, it took me, I looked at quite a bit. And there's, of course, this is a Nicklaus design. And I didn't go into the whole thing of how the course got named Concession. But if you want to know, you're going to hear it 1,000 times. It was not the Ryder Cup back in late 60s. It became down to Nicklaus, and I think it was Tony Jacklin. Both had, I think it was Nicklaus made a 4-footer, and Tony Jacklin had a 2-footer. And this was like, if he made him putt that and he missed it, we win. The U.S. wins the Ryder Cup. I believe they just pushed and tied. Long story short, he conceded it, picked up his coin, and said, "Hey, Tony, I'm sure you can make that." And he conceded it. And that was the whole thing. And those two came together to design this course. So there you go. There's your history. That I wasn't going to talk about that because I think guys have just talked about it over and over, and you're going to hear it on the coverage a billion times. But so looking through comp courses, the best comp course that I think I could find is Bay Hill. Of course, that is in Orlando, Florida, at the API, which, some of these guys will be playing here shortly. It's a par 72 from a yardage. It's only off by 20 yards. The greens are Bermuda. It has, some of the sand. It has some of the water. I say it's the closest comp course I can think of. But we don't know how this course plays. So I can't, I don't know, fast greens or, we don't have any of that proof. But everything from, we'll say from a stats perspective, it looks like the best course fit. I'm also going to look at Shadow Creek because it was a same event kind of thing where you had 77 guys in the field. It's a longer course. It's a par 72, big greens, a lot of slope. It is in Vegas and it was bent. So there's some differences there, but I'm still going to leverage that. We have at least one year of sample data we can look at from that to see other guys well there. Of course, Kokrak did well there. So that's one of the reference points. TPC Sawgrass with the players, of course, in Ponte Verde Beach. Is also Florida. It's a par 72. It's a shorter course by a couple hundred yards, but again, it's 200 yards divided over 18 holes, so it's not ridiculous. The greens were beautiful, but I think with the water, some of the way that course plays, I think looks kind of similar to this. So, anyways, those are the courses I'm going to reference. Again, if I find out something different, I might add a course or change something. But right now, this is what I'm going to be looking at because, again, we have no history, no stroking analysis. I don't want to sound redundant, but we're going to have our work cut out for us to try to figure out the guys that we're going to want to play. All right, on that note, let's take a quick look at the field. So as I always do, I put together a quick model of my own and with the things that we just discussed. And I weighted putting 10%, approach 15, driving distance 10, fairway gain, I weighted 10%, green and reg 5. We got the longer par 4s, weighted that 5. We got the par 5, 4 of them where they, we got to get guys that can do some birdies on that. Got the 3 long par 3s, big putting complexes, so we need to avoid the 3 putts. Birdie or better, sand. I'm thinking the proximity is going to be somewhere between 150 and 200 if you kind of break down and look at. There are some shorter par 4s, but most of them are longer. And then I also wanted to put in putting outside of 25 feet because I think they're going to have to do that quite a few times. And you run that, and I just pulled last 24 rounds. I didn't put any filters. This isn't looking at Bermuda. This isn't looking at 7,400. Removed all the filters, but just looked at the last 24 rounds, and bam, you get Lee Westwood. So there you go. He's coming up right now, and I don't know. I didn't look if this is pulling up his European stats, but he's been playing pretty well. So someone that, we got to do more analysis on. But then you got Gary Woodland, again, against those weights, pops up there. You got Rahm, not a real shocker, Thomas, Scott. Let's see if there's anybody else, because I really didn't do a whole. Andy Sullivan, another European player, pretty good player. Terrell Hatton, that guy, he's doing well over in Europe. I'll talk about him a little more in the upcoming shows. Harris English, Sunjay M's going to actually be here. Kind of interesting. I think we got to figure out what the Russ is going to do with the 2 weeks off, but someone we'll look at. But again, just so you can get a quick understanding, we got some of the best players out there. It's going to be, we're going to see Justin Rose, who we haven't seen in a while. Just trying to look at the list here. Anybody else? Fleetwood will be here. We haven't seen him in a while. Who else is on there? Daniel Berger, of course, had just won. Took the week off. He lives in Florida. He'll be playing. Could be a really good fit for him in good form. Yeah. So there we go. That's really about it. I think until now, that's going to wrap this up. I greatly appreciate you guys attending. If you are new, thank you for stopping by. I hope you like what I do. Usually it's a little different than this. Usually I get to be able to do a little more deeper dive analysis, but we just don't have it. So I got to work a little harder for you guys. I will do that. But if you like what you see so far, hit the like. If you don't, hit the thumbs down. Tell me why, and I will work on making it better. Share with anybody that you think would find some value in this. And if you have not subscribed, again, right now, no commercials, but I am trying to build a subscribe base. I'm doing this on my own. And then the time is, of course, putting it into a format that is palatable for you guys. And if you have any questions, one and done. On that note, the money that these guys can make at this tournament is, everybody's going to make money. But if you are up in the top 10, it is a little more money than usual. So I'm just saying for a one and done purposes, you might want to go ahead and spend one of more elite guys. Hopefully I can figure that guy out for you. But something to think about if you're doing one and dones. But if you have any other questions, betting, anything, hit me up at DFS Golf Guru on the Twitter sphere. And that's it, guys. I am going to go to work, and I'll be back with my top plays tomorrow and hopefully even more information about the course. I'll keep my eyes open. Take care. All the best.